OnBoard is getting some major buzz at the Tribeca Film Festival and at the Essence Film Festival, winning awards as it pulls back the curtain in hopes of bringing more women to corporate boards. The nonprofit Black Women on Board started with just over a dozen women in corporate America. They've grown to over 150 by word of mouth and are opening up doors and opportunities in the business world. We're joined right now by Shannon Nash, one of BWOB's members, and you're also CFO of Alphabet Drones delivery company, Wing.
Correct.
You're a busy lady. You executive produced and produced this film. Congratulations on all your success. This is a big deal. We need solutions. We need people who are actually pointing to economic progress. We hear about things being bad all the time. So was it your intention when making this film to kind of shine a light on what is being done and what is working?
That's exactly what the intention was, to give a voice to like what is going on and really help inspire the next generation to want to achieve something like this. So many people never really even understand what a board does. And by the time they understand it, they're at a certain point in their career where it's very difficult for them to get on a board. So one of the things we wanted to do with this film was first acknowledge the first Black woman who was on a board, Patricia Roberts Harris, and then really expose, what all these other women who are on boards are doing and their pathways to get there.
So demystify it a little bit for us, because you mentioned Patricia Roberts Harris. She was on IBM's board back in, what, the 70s?
Yeah, 1971.
Yeah, but again, a lot of people in America, they're thinking, well, I understand there are boards of corporations, but what in the world do y'all do?
I mean, the first thing, the easiest way to think about a board is that the board hires and fires the CEO. It's one of the #1 things that a board does. The board has the fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders, which is the owners of the company, to help think about the strategic vision and management of the company. So boards really help run the company with management.
Yeah, and consult and all kinds of things. I wanted to give a couple more stats. Okay, so you guys made so much progress between 2020 and 2021. 32% of new board members to the S&P 500 were Black.
Yeah.
I mean, it just was like this explosion of diversity. Is it that there's been this abundance of talent that's been overlooked, or is it that people aren't aware of the opportunities available?
I think that the reality is that boards, to get on a board, it's very much a network, and you have to be in that network. And what you find is that a lot of people who are people of color, women, don't have access to those networks. So when those opportunities become available, they're not even on the short list to get on boards. And so one of the goals of organizations like Black Women on Boards was to get people in networks, to get, like I like to say to people, I can help you get on the short list, because there's a lot of people that were already board qualified, they just didn't have access.
And what would you say to those who are watching at home? Perhaps they're never going to be on a board. But they do need a board of advisors in their life. What is a few descriptive words you would use to define someone who would be board qualified?
Yeah, so boards are looking for people who can help them with their strategic vision. So if you have experience, in a certain industry, and you've risen to a certain level where you had that type of responsibility for a P&L, responsibility for the strategic vision of the company, you're starting to be board qualified. Even if you haven't had those experiences, there are ways for you to get them. But I love what you said earlier. You need that personal board of advisors, people in your life that have either achieved some of this. Some of them are your colleagues, some of them are your bosses, some of them are people you've never worked with, but you admire what they've done in business. You need that personal board of advisors yourself to help you, manage kind of your career.
And navigate through life, because the journey requires tour guides, it requires mentors, it requires those who have way more wisdom and experience and education than you. You have Silicon Valley executives, you have people who've put on large-scale events like participating in the Olympic Games among women on this board. You see the change, you see the impacts. What would you say to Americans about what is going right economically at this time in 2023 and into 2024?
What I would say, what is going right is that the movement of getting this diversity and inclusion, particularly on boards, is happening. And we need to embrace it. I say this in the movie, it is a well-known, researched fact at this point from amazing companies like McKinsey that diverse boards outperform non-diverse boards. That comes down to money. right? So companies care about money, and if they want to actually continue to have competitive advantages, they need to have diverse boards.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.